the April 28th, 2026 meeting of the Select Board and the Finance Committee, otherwise known as the Board meetings. I will go through my typical meeting opening stuff, and then the Finance Committee can open their meeting. This evening on the Select Board, we have Amy Parsons, Jane Nevin Smith, myself, Randy Eisel, Molly Keegan, and David Phil. Pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 as amended, this meeting is conducted in a hybrid format. The public has been provided with adequate alternative means of access via Zoom, as noted in the posted meeting notice, along with access and participation instructions. As chair, I hereby notify all participants that this meeting is also being recorded by the town through Hadley Media and will be made accessible to the public. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, any person who intends to record or transmit this meeting must inform the chair at this time. Anybody need to inform me? Hearing none. Additionally, the virtual hybrid nature of this meeting is for convenience only. The board is meeting in person in a public location. In the event there is technical difficulties, the board will continue its meeting, notwithstanding the lack of the continued hybrid access. With that, Finance Committee.
Okay, so I'd like to call the Finance Committee meeting to order. And tonight here we have Paul McCretsky, Pam Pegg, myself, Amy Hyden, Peter Machusko, Harry Bondolowski, and our intern Gage Bignable.
Okay, awesome. We got one little thing to deal with before we get into our by-board meeting. Item 2.1 under new business, Historical Signs Preservation Month and 250 American Revolution. Is there somebody here that would like to speak to this?
I would love to speak to this.
Please do.
The Historical Commission is asking for the Select Board to allow them to put History Lives Here signs on the following locations that are listed in the board docs, which are town property, and they need permission to put signs up for that. They will also be putting other signs around town on private property in celebration of Historic Preservation Month. And then they are also in conjunction with the Hadley Historical Society asking for additional signs to be placed out for the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. And there'll be 15 to 18 signs placed around town.
Are these two different signs?
They are two different signs. One is for May and one is.
And we only have a PDF of one of them? Is that right?
Yes, you do. The other one says History Lives Here. Sorry, I didn't realize there was only one there.
Okay.
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion by Jane, second by Amy.
So quick question, are these the permanent
No,
signs or just the?
they're yard signs, just stuck into the ground and then out of the ground.
That's it.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you very much. We can move on to old business, item 3.1, annual town meeting warrant. And Select Board and the Finance Committee are going to discuss the warrant, hopefully come to some agreements and get this put to bed. And then we also need to
I would like recommendations.
Recommendations.
I'd like to know who's speaking to which.
and then, okay, deal with that after we get through with the Finance Committee. All right.
Yep.
So,
I thought I went ahead and made paper copies for everybody. And I will share it up on the screen, but I know that paper copies are light. So I think that I do need y'all to make votes. I know the Finance Committee has already voted, but the article numbers have changed. And I was hoping that y'all would consider as we're voting, as the Select Board's voting, that y'all could vote as well. And then I can just report everybody's votes in one go. Just because the numbers are different, and I think it'll be a cleaner, easier way. So before we get going too far, though, I do want to suggest that y'all take Article 7 out of order, which is the omnibus budget. That is something that y'all have not been able to come to agreement on and haven't had, honestly, probably enough discussion on. So I think that might be a really great place for y'all to start. And then after that, we can finish up, or you can do the exact opposite and do everything else first and then address that. Whatever your pleasure is.
Well, I think, why not get right into Article 7, since I know that we're in some disagreement on a few of the line items. I don't know.
Randy, before we start that, can we just have an explanation again, just so everybody can hear it about the issue with the raises? Can somebody break that down so that all of us can hear it? I know something was put on Facebook and some of us have talked, but can somebody just put it out there so that we all are on the same page, please?
Yes, I can address that for the finance committee. As we were preparing the budget, there have been questions raised by employees in town that by employees working on the budget, that there was a problem with the numbers on the municipal union grid, which is also the grid that all of the department heads in town who don't have contracts sit on as well. So it's basically everybody that's not covered by another contract or in another union. When Pam gave us the worksheet, I spoke to Linda. Linda had been the one that had been questioning it. I guess I don't need to be coy. Linda had been questioning and saying that she was concerned this didn't look right. Molly had been, David had been. There had been people raising concerns. Once she raised it, I started digging in and doing the numbers. As you know, there has been a departure in HR. So once I went in and started looking and doing calculations, we discovered that there was a problem there. We had to speak to the select board about it, reach out to town council so that they could reach out to the union representative who spoke to our town council and said that was kind of the intent. So what the former HR director had done was she had adjusted the wage scale to add a step, drop a step. So that means we went from 1 to 10 and now we're 2 to 11. And then we renumbered the 2 to 11 through 1 through 10. So everybody moved in the scale to the next one, but then it renumbered. So it looks like they stayed the same, but they actually moved. Okay. And then she added an additional step onto it. So everybody double stepped. So that's what the problem was. Once we ran through and did the numbers, and we spent well over 7 hours going over the numbers, we've made the adjustments. We took it back to the select board. They approved the adjustments. And then we talked to y'all about it. And then that is the explanation. All the salaries have been adjusted at this point. Nobody has lost anything because this was not something that had ever been voted on. This was just the draft proposed budget.
And it wasn't the entirety of the salaries for the town.
No.
It was
No,
strictly.
it was a small segment of people. And it was not the entire list that you gave me that time, because there were several people on that list that have contracts
Right.
that are separate from.
Okay, but it came to what, about $30,000.
I'm sorry, it came to about 30,000. That would also be helpful for me to say.
The impact was they were getting 9% raises, and it should have been closer to 5 to 6. And so we were able to make that adjustment. It did come down by $30,000.
And if we could just be clear, because I got the question from a union member, we are still abiding by all union contracts as far as contractual raises. So just making this change to the budget does not change anything in those contracts. They're still getting what
Right.
they are
Right. The
entitled.
contract has not changed. The interpretation of one clause of the contract was what the problem was, and the attorneys were put on it to handle it. And both sides agreed that it was a little overly generous for 27.
Overly generous.
So
Thank you.
So it's been fixed.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
My question for that is, if we over budgeted, and are we doing have we moved that or shown where that,
You want me to hand this out?
that 30,000 is?
Sure, bringing it back on where we.
Actually, I guess I know. One from the other.
There's one for you. Yes. Or maybe this.
I don't know. This one. One of the things, and I don't know if this is on, but that's
Is there a green button?
green button.
On top, it should be, the light should be green, right about below the white, right there. Is it green on?
No,
So Peter, this memo went out this afternoon, but I'm very aware that not everyone checks their email all the time. So this is actually my email that went out. Correct.
Is it right on, Amy?
Oh.
I have that one.
All right, so one of the questions was, before we get into the middle of this, is like, when finance was looking at this, where did we come up with the numbers? Why did we pick what we picked? Where are we coming up? What was our train of thought type of thing? And in some cases, people think that, you know, we're like biased or picking and choosing, which is all but the opposite. Because just like yourselves, we have no skin in the game here. Like, we town, how we get no pay, we have no pay. It won't affect us. There's nothing in there for us. What we did is, as far as the override, is we could see the main thing was the school. We're focused on the school, because if we can keep the school whole, we felt like we'll have better school choice, everything will come in, things will do well. If you can't do anything for the school, then it would be a downward spiral, because school choice will. So the focus was on the school. Then the focus went to the fire. And it's because it's not, you talk about singling a department, singled out a department. It was the fire department. They weren't in the budget last year. Part of the fire department was not in the budget last year. So they are the ones that got decimated. They were the ones that lost a lot compared to others. So that's the only reason why we pulled them in a little bit. So that's what our focus, it wasn't at one of the others. So it was just on those two. It was because the fire wasn't in the budget and what had happened. And it was just the school, because of, if we don't take care of it, I feel like our town will be in trouble. So that is why we picked the school and the fire. Now, as far as how we went ahead with the other stuff, and how we take the other stuff, because like I said, we don't have any, you know, even in this department head, we're not advocating for anybody or anything. It's just, I'm going to come up with the reasons why the rest of our decision making. So just bring back everybody back to the hours that they were working, that they're working right now. Not necessarily the same place, but they're all back to their full hours that they have right now. We brought the fire admin back. We brought the police admins back. We brought them back, but you guys moved them to the 850, so we took them out of our budget here for this budget. We brought back the DPW maintenance person. We brought back, you guys had requested a half a person for the full person for the TA, for administrative assistant for the town administrator. We felt because that was a new position, it should have been part-time, and we brought back the assistant collector back to 40 hours. It's the only one that lost hours. Everybody else had their same hours. Everybody else is back to where they were. Can I show a quick timeout, Pam?
Yeah.
Only because just conscious, everybody here knows what we're talking about, but I'm not sure that if people are watching the meeting, they know what we're talking about. So, and correct me if I'm wrong. So Amy, you started talking about the schools and the fire department, specifically relative to the finance committee's support of the $850,000 override article.
Correct, because we started with, where we started is with the override, and then we backed into the rest of it.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, what Pam's talking about right now
Is
the changes from what the
town administrator's recommendation.
select board has agreed to for the, I'll call it the baseline budget, right? That is going to go to town meeting first, which would be the omnibus budget to be voted upon.
Correct.
With no override.
Yeah.
And Pam's now speaking to changes that the finance committee is recommending to the omnibus budget.
Yes, and why we came up with it.
Okay, I don't think there was a text for that, so sorry.
I know that's okay. I should probably explain that a little bit before I started, but sorry. Yeah, it's just changes to the numbers we have right now. We're just moving them around. We're staying balanced. But we brought back all the positions, brought them back to where they're sitting right now. their hours, not necessarily the same job, but the same hours. That's why we chose to bring the assistant collector back with that $29,000, which is the $30,000 that was off on the salaries. That's where that money is hidden for us.
And do you want to explain to everybody where, so you've made reallocations, so in order to fund your recommended changes, that money came from somewhere. Do you want to speak to that?
Do we want to, is that something that we're putting up on the?
I don't know, that, just,
I think that's a sheet that, we might be putting up.
I just think if people are listening,
So, I mean, I can tell you where we found them without seeing the sheet. The fire admin, the chief's salary was overstated. It was at 161 in the budget. It should be in 147 something. So that money covers your fire administrator right there. The DPW maintenance person was in expense line. We moved it down to expenses this year. We moved it back up to salary, and you guys had that as well. Moved it back up to salary so that we can bring that position back. We have the police admin in $20,000 from the insurance, but you guys have it in the 850 override, so that's going to come back if that passes. And the TA took $20,000. We took the $25,000 extra from the town administrator salary that you didn't use. You had an extra 30 in there, so we took 25 from that. And we took the town administrative assistant's job and dropped it down to part-time. So that between those two was another 54,000 to cover all of that. And we put some money into our reserve, I believe, as well.
so for the reinstatement of the hours, and positions, there are no changes to, it doesn't look like there are any changes to the benefits. Is that accounted for somewhere?
Well, we didn't have to change the benefits because they kept their full-time stayed full-time, part-time stayed part-time.
But even though it moved down to part-time, still we're getting insurance, so that number doesn't change.
It's not changing
They
any
moved
people.
to- Yeah.
I mean, the only person I would say that, but I believe it probably was allocated in there was the only new position would be the assistant in the TA's office, but that was in the original, so it would have been in the.
It also isn't a new position because we had an HR department that had a full-time director and a support position. And when you move the HR services over to TA, yeah, they need a little more support. So there's nothing new about that. That was a shift from another department. So that would make sense.
Okay, so they're accounting for that like we thought.
Right.
And
And
insurance.
you did not reinstate the assistant treasurer. So when you say everyone's working the
No,
same jobs in the
No,
same
I said they work in the same hours, not necessarily the same jobs.
what hours?
They're all working.
And what are you doing with the assistant treasurer?
You have her split in the budget.
I do not have her skew the budget.
You have her part-time for assistant treasurer and part-time with inspections.
I do not have her doing that, no. And that's a select board decision to make at the time. No, I do not. She's working 2 hours a week down there to help the new inspector, and we're going to need to get someone to do inspections. It cannot be a split between the treasurer and the.
But isn't that how the budget reads for next year?
It was adding the position back. It wasn't necessarily a person. It was adding the part-time position back because the revenues fell so hard or so low in that department that we realized that that is a position that you have to have a permitting person in that office. So I'm not certain where it came that it would be the assistant treasurer in that position. Maybe it is because she used to be in that position, but we weren't
All of
told.
our understanding was she was split between the two of them.
No, she is not split between.
Okay, but that's how we all understood it. I'm not sure why, but that's how.
That wasn't explained by us.
So we've tried very hard not to put names on things, on people's jobs. We're trying to keep it to the position, not the person. And the revenues were so low in that department, we could see very clearly there was a dire need for a permitting person back in that office. Since we put this budget book out, and we all know that our building commissioner has since passed away. So there's going to be even a bigger need as we try to figure out what that office is going to look like, but we don't know what it is right now. But there's going to be a building commissioner and they're going to need some sort of support. If that is the assistant treasurer, if it's a new person, if it's the assistant collector, if it's the assistant, I don't know who it is, but whoever it is, that's a half position that's there. So it could be a multitude of people stepping into that place, but it's not, we didn't say, oh, Peter goes here and Amy goes here and Gage gets to go here. We didn't do that. We looked at the positions, we looked at the needs of the town, and we took what y'all had asked for to look for efficiencies, to be leaner and have less employees. And we took that on board, and that's what we did. And that's what the select board heard, and that's how they directed Mike and Linda when they started working on it. And then when I came into it, that's how we understood it. So that's what we had done, is we had looked at the positions and the cuts had been made. And I got to be honest with you, these are my coworkers for 10 years. I don't want anybody going anywhere. So that's just my personal thing. I'm not speaking for the select board. Just saying Jennifer would like all of her coworkers to remain her coworkers. So just putting that out there. When you're looking at the position, look at the position, not the person.
Ask you a question. Isn't your assistant treasurer coming full time?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to confirm that. I brought this up before at an earlier meeting that I can see some way we could reinstate that position to full time, because it's really an important position in the town. And Linda had indicated if I have some news that you're thinking of retiring in the future, we have to have a succession plan in place.
That's true. If she's in inspections, she's not learning the treasurer job.
No, so in such a critical position that there's, I know it sounds like from what I'm hearing, most of the money's been spoken for, but if there's some way that we could squeeze that out or do some adjustment. It's me to another point. Last week, I think it was in our last meeting, we were seeing with the $60,000 that's coming in, hotel that's no longer going to be in hotel. I was wondering, was that included in the revenues?
No, it was not, it was not settled by the time the revenues were done. And I guess it is settled now. However, with a review of the revenues to date as we go through, I can easily offset that with we're going to be behind $40,000 in what was anticipated for our investment revenues. We're behind in inspections, although as was pointed out yesterday, yes, we did lower those expectations for 27. And there's and the select board permitting a number of the businesses that would pay fees and have for the various permits that they have on the liquor licenses. We did not receive that money, and that looks like that might be down by $10,000 to $20,000.
So most of the 60,000 is
Yeah.
spoken for.
Yeah, that's why we put the stake in the ground when we do revenues. And then say, this is the way it is. And we can't just grab each increase, because then we have to look for the offsets. And we will look at them all again, as we usually do for the fall town meeting, because we're also hoping that the assessors are going to lighten up on some of that, some of the money that they have requested be set aside.
Right.
I just hope that the rest of us here on both sides of the table can somehow come to some way of working this out so we can have a full-time assistant treasurer, because we just did this a few months ago. Improves for the fire chief to get a deputy chief, and I look at it, this is almost no different. You know, Linda's eventually going to retire, and somebody in place, and we don't want to just walk out the door and there's nobody there to take care of what has to be done. It's very important.
That's true for a lot of town jobs, and one of the problems is because the override didn't pass in the fall, we've had to make changes, we've had to cut. We've had to show the town that we heard what they said, which was invent your jobs, and don't show us you're doing something different.
Right.
And to the best of our ability, because numbers are constantly changing, you never know. And there's big
Good, thank you.
today about, Lowe's sales are down, so their tax revenues are down. People don't understand it. It's not the value of the property, it's property plus sales.
Right. So Linda, I have a question for you. So the email sent this afternoon said you didn't need to put that $30,000 into workers' comp that you said was a little bit not extra, but a little bit could be moved from those other two. So take that 30,000 and put it in the treasurer's position.
That's something that you may suggest to both boards and you can decide on tonight. My inclination was benefits stays with benefits. As with the rest of the budget, things go up and down. And if we need more in one area, we'll need it in another. And again, looking towards our future planning, we want to make sure the benefits stay in line. I what's surprising me so much this year is how much more conservative I am with the budgeting and the revenues than the finance committee is. And so, I find myself arguing in the opposite direction than I was last year, because you were all saying we have too much staff and we're overestimating revenues and we didn't put enough in health insurance. And you've really taken me aback this year with trying to find ways to get people to get staffing back in on the regular budget and to make these other changes. I'm not against any of these people being hired back. And I certainly, if I was doing it in my interests, I never would have put my assistant treasurer on the line in the first place. But that's not my job, is to do fair budgeting across the board. And if I was going to have other people put their support staff on the line, then I was going to have to do the same thing and work out other ways of dealing with that. So this budget's been put out there. There have been, we have the suggestions that went to, or advice that went to the select board, and the first column for adjustments that were going to be made in dealing with this extra money that came back or that we no longer, or that came back from trimming the salaries. I am uncomfortable moving things out of benefits because it is such a volatile area. The health insurance, unemployment, very volatile. We can certainly budget on the side of maybe we won't need it, just the way you want to say, well, let's not put the money into snow and ice because maybe we'll have a mild winter. And we can do all those maybes and maybe they'll all work out and everything will be fine. But then I'm worried about where we're going to be 6 months from now, or when we're doing next year's budget, when we have spent all of our savings because we were hoping that things would go better. I don't know. This is no longer my call. My budgeting portion is done, and I'm assembling it. And these are the things that the two boards have to work out. And I think I have relatively little to say here, except that I'm going to talk, except for my assistant treasurer.
So may I?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so I'm a little confused. And I know sometimes, there's concern that the boards aren't listening to each other. Specifically, the finance committee has expressed concern that you don't always feel like we're listening to what you're saying. And the reason that we're here right now is, I think, because we have done just that, right? So we took very seriously what happened this fall with the failed override. I know at several meetings that I participated in, a lot of the concern that was expressed by the finance committee was that we had too many people, that we were overstaffed, that we had made decisions that put ourselves in the situation that we're in. Again, we have vehemently defended we'll call it the $1 million issue that David brought up at the last meeting, right? I mean, the employee benefits came out of left field and it's hit every single municipality. I think you've heard us say that whatever happens, we don't want to put ourselves in a tough spot again. So appropriately, the direction from the select board that Linda and Jennifer and Mike ran with was, hear the asks from the department, and it is, it's 1,400,000 and whatever thousand more that they asked for level services than the budget that's in front of us tonight, the omnibus budget that we've been supporting. As Jennifer said, nobody wants anybody to lose their job, get laid off, or anything else. But that said, I also have to say part of my concern with the finance committee at this juncture starting to make changes that are personnel related, you don't have the benefit of the information that the select board has. And what I mean by that is for years, we have been planning on and probably talking about is more appropriate. We've been trying to plan that we've been recognizing the fact that we are going to have retirements. We're going to have natural attrition at town hall, department head positions, et cetera. We're already looking ahead to that. We have a brand new town administrator starting who already has ideas about making some changes. The budget that was put together was intended to put us in a position to, take that next step down the road if both overrides fail, right? So if we have to live within this, part of the reason for the funds being under the town administrator line item was the idea of a utility infielder. What I know, the number of years that I've been on this board or other boards, your board, is that many of the departments experience cyclical activity. So what I mean by that is that there are very busy times in the collector's office. There are other times that are less busy. There are very busy times in the treasurer's department. There may be other times that are less busy. If you're doing payroll, there are periods in between when you're not doing payroll. By allowing the town administrator to take control of that, that allows for potentially better resource management. It's something that we did a long time ago, and it worked well. But then as job responsibilities grew and departments' workloads grew, that's how we wound up back with proliferation of more support positions. We're going backwards. So I want to go backwards to something that worked previously. And my concern is, and I don't mean any offense by this, but Amy, granted, you've been on the finance committee for at least a decade, I think, or about that. Last fall, only 2 of you on the finance committee were present and functioning as committee members when we went through the override last fall. 3 of you are brand new to the finance committee. So you know what you heard in this one budget cycle from those department heads. And I will tell you, everybody up here at this table, we're on multiple terms having served at this point. We've all been through, at a minimum, I think 6 budget cycles, and a few of us more than that. And my only point is that the depth of the knowledge that we have of the day-to-day operations and staffing is different from yours. So I'm concerned about, and I get why, of course, you want to try to preserve some of these positions and give people back hours. But it was at your very request and demand that we made these cuts in the first place. So that's why I'm confused. I don't understand why the night before we're supposed to be having a forum on the town meeting next week, we're going to move the omnibus budget around. And because we're just going to be right back where we were last fall with the finance committee standing up saying we have a different budget. The likelihood of all 3 failing is going to be pretty significant. So, I mean, I just feel like we have done and taken seriously the taxpayers' message, what we've all heard directly on our own from taxpayers that we all talk to, and your own words. And yet here we are, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my gosh, we obviously did something wrong. As I started the conversation, I'm really confused right now.
We had met a few weeks ago and we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of here. We did all our voting. we have been trying to, we met with each department and then after we talked to each department, we then negotiated, we talked about it, then we brought it and we brought some stuff here. We talked some things through, we went back and that was before last week. We had already voted, we went through everything. And so it's not, this isn't the day before. Now things have changed. As of yesterday, or, you know, some of these, all these numbers. So a lot of some of these things, but they're changing. So that's not, I wouldn't say that would have to do with us, with all the salaries changing. And then we have some increases in some salaries. Not from after we voted. Like there's an increase in town administrator, there's an increase in building, there's an increase in
snow, right?
snow. Yeah, so there was changes, okay, as of yesterday, which we haven't even seen or talked about. So we're trying our best. We are trying to stay on pace.
And I'd say too that, you know, just the fact that this finance committee voted to approve an $850,000 override shows that we're willing to work for the town, we're willing to work with the Board of Selectmen, we see something go through. And I guess, you know, I'm almost hearing what you're saying, Molly, about that we're not, but we're working with the town. See something go through. Otherwise, we could have just said, no, we're not going to vote for anything at all. That budget that was to stay intact, and that didn't take a hard line, but we didn't. And you're talking about some of the finance committee members being moved through of us, myself included, but I don't know if all of you would realize that this past March, just speaking for myself, I had my 50th anniversary of dealing with municipal finance, and I've been through decades of budget cycles, and I understand how it works, and so I just wanted to bring that up.
Yes. And Paul, I want to make sure, I wasn't saying people don't know how the budget works. I'm saying that there's history here with the operations that we're, as the executive body, we're involved in the day-to-day operations and personnel and all of that. So part of being on the select board, and that's why people run for select board, right? As opposed to being an appointed committee, that the taxpayers are putting somebody here so that they're going to have that day-to-day oversight. It's just a different role.
Because we acknowledge what you're saying too, is a lot of people here that are new, they didn't know the history. So I did pull out the book and I did give them a history of how much this department was from 2019 all the way to 2026. So everyone was this a full-time position? Was this and how much were we paying? Was this a full-time position? How much were we paying? And so I gave everyone the history for the ones that did not have history. So we went back as far as 2019 and we did look at history.
Okay, I would like to suggest something, and that is that we try to get to a place where we can all agree about what's going to happen tomorrow, next week. And I would start with leaving the original budget the way it was, and let's talk about the override. Because there are numbers in there that get moved around, and maybe they can and maybe they can't. And the overall amount of money that's totally being moved is what, $60,000? Is that really worth us spending hours and hours? We have a $22 million budget to spend nitpicking about that. Let's leave the original budget that we have to have for the town to continue at all. And if it fails, we are SOL, and go to the overrides.
Well, I think it's easy to say that they're going to the override, but what about those people that are losing potentially their hours and in their jobs? So it's not just $60,000, it's people's jobs they're changing.
And
So
it's not just jobs, it's
hours, it's jobs. So it's you're right, it's a $22 million But tell that to those people.
And extrapolate those costs going forward, right? Again, the finance committee said, right, that we have too many people. It's not just the salary, it's also the benefit burden that goes with the staff. Our concern is that if the overrides, let's say the overrides fail, right? And so we are stuck with this awful bare bones budget. Are we just going to keep coming back year after year and saying that we need it? Or do we want to at least give ourselves a fighting chance of not baking in pay increases, benefit increases, et cetera? Right. So we're trying to look at these line items that we can have some level of containment on going forward. We all know that with people, it's the biggest part of the budget. So, I mean, we can't have our cake and eat it too, is my point. And nobody here, again, we're the ones who are pushing for the second override. That's how we want to retain these positions. That's our position.
We have other things in this budget too that need to be addressed, such as the finance reserve and the snow and ice and other things like that. So it's not just positions.
So my fear is that if, like Molly said, both overrides fail, which is a possibility, we are setting ourselves up for failure because we are focusing more on job retention than functionality. And let's face it, this is not going to be, if this baseline omnibus budget is all we have to work on, it's going to be mess, and we're going to have to make do the best we can. And services are going to change, and the level of customer services that the townspeople are used to is not going to be there. But at the same time, if we're focusing on job retention and those overrides fail, I think we're digging ourselves into an even bigger hole for next year, where we're going to be left with nothing to cut. Because if this budget passes as it is, we're going to have a lot of departments with one person in them. And so if no overrides fail and we have to cut another $500 to $1 million off the budget next year because of inflation and other increasing costs, what do we have left to cut? We have nothing left to cut other than completely closing departments, which a lot of those departments can't close. We have to have a collector, we have to have a treasurer, we have to have these things. So there's literally we're at the point where there's going to be nothing left to cut other than essential services, more firefighters, police officers. We're going to be down to one guy plowing our streets. So I think, as much as I would like to save jobs, what we're trying to do here is save an operating town in the future if we have to stick with the baseline budget. So I hate to be the crass person that says it's not about the jobs, but in this case, it's not. It's about making things work within our bare bones budget here. So that's what I'm worried about.
And we'd welcome support for the second override. That's what's, where we'll all get our cake.
Yeah. I would just like to say that I appreciate everything that the finance committee's done, and you found some things that were not looked at properly in the first place, saved some money there. But what I'm hearing that really bothers me is that you're going to move money around to save hours, but you don't know what those hours necessarily look like. And to me, you're doing the job of the people in town hall. And I don't think that's in your realm of what you're doing for the town. Finding money that you think is being not spent wisely, amen.
Yep.
But telling us and, Linda and Jennifer, where that money needs to go specifically, I have a real problem with that. I think town hall knows how town hall runs, and unless we're doing something totally ridiculous, which I don't believe we are. We're bare bones. And everybody who's spoken before me, I don't need to reiterate what they've said, but I think that town hall knows where the money needs to go, what departments need fed, if you will, and where we have to cut. And I prefer to stay with the original budget. And then, as Jane said, work on how we're going to deal with the overrides.
So, we'll start with Paul. Are you going? What was your comments on
Keep it the way it is.
keep it the way it is, or,
I would like to see, you know, the
but the thing is, you don't know the way it is because there's been changes.
Well, he's got the new
Or
one.
you have
just
the one?
received too.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's really tough for all of us here to get some information at like 10 minutes of 5. We got a meeting at 7:00. You know, I'm in the car driving back from work. You know, I couldn't even hardly look at it. I had to look at this really quickly. And it's just not fair. This seems to happen. You know, this is more than once that this has happened. I don't know if it's just getting put together. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's just really tough to get.
It's a moving target, Paul.
It's like,
Yeah.
Honestly, Paul, quite often we're working on things right up till the last minute with up-to-date numbers. And, you know, that's why Linda printed it out, because she was afraid that everybody hadn't had a chance to be in the email today. And I also, that's why I printed out the final version of the warrant for y'all, because we knew that it is hard to do that. But it's never an intentional slight against the finance committee or honestly to the select board. When I load your material up at 5:45, it's just, we're literally working on it until 5:35. And then I load it up and then Board Doc saves it and it's there. So it's always, not always, I would like it to be different, but that's where we are with the timing. And quite frankly, the staffing that we have right now, we have a part-time TA and me. I'm swinging for all I can get right now. And she's doing the same.
I understand your position. I just hope you can understand what we're talking.
And I just don't want y'all to think it's a slight. It's not, we're doing the best we can here.
I actually was thinking you start the meeting and go walk through it one by one, so this could be explained, and then if you want that still, and if you like it, I can't take it in because of all these numbers. I could do a quick breeze through and say what happened with each of the ones in the select board. Okay.
Please do.
All right. The first one, this is as compared to the original budget in the budget book, the changes that have happened. The account administrator cut by 21,400. That's because of, there was some extra money in there, not knowing what the cost of the positions were. We were still negotiating on a town administrator, and there was other extra money in there for support, which we believe now can be absorbed into the single one-time support person since Jennifer is not occupying that seat again.
Okay, can I ask a question? There was 30,000 and you used 5 for the TA. That should be 25,000, no?
This is all part of the other adjustments. You remember the TA is even the ATA and the TA are higher than they were. So that's 8,000 there, which comes against the 30, right?
Is there any way we can put that up on the screen so everyone?
Sorry, I don't have it.
No,
No, she worked on hers, I worked on mine.
Literally till we're up.
You have it right here though?
Yeah.
Do you have your budget book?
So
our budget book.
let me just say then, Pam's wondering why it is at 30. That's because we had budgeted 130 for the town administrator. So it's maybe 130.
Right. It's 25,000, so.
5.
It's the same.
But that's fine.
Right.
130 to 5. The assistant town administrator, we had it's outline of almost 104.
So it's 104 now. So
And 54,532 for the support stays, the longevity stays, and the other has to sell. And they're 30, so the 30 goes against the 5 and the 4.
I know it's the assistant TA's went up. Can you just explain to them why?
It wasn't on the wage grid. It had to be placed in the wage grid.
So it was originally 100 and now it's 103.
104.
It's
Yeah, 103 something change.
It is because it wasn't on the wage grid, because
Position didn't exist.
the position didn't exist. It has to be a grade A.
Yep.
That is the very, very lowest step.
I understand. I just wanted them to hear
Okay,
the
yeah.
difference.
From a position that was a substantial raise from one, what that salary is, that within a month and a half, now it's already gone up a step.
Well,
What I'm saying is, we're seeing a substantial raise, and I understand that it's from
the first.
the HR taken away, but
100 were estimates. Okay, they were not set yet.
Numbers are changing.
so you're saying numbers in the books are estimates, they're not full set numbers?
You know, they have. Sometimes, let's say that the department head is retiring this fiscal year, but you have to plan for next fiscal year. Yeah, you have to do an estimate, absolutely.
For instance, we have the fire chief's salary.
Yeah.
We have not negotiated that yet, so that's there. And it has to be there until we negotiate.
And the COA director is also the same. But there are, yes, estimates.
I'm just saying it's something of a salary that was given, and now within a month and a half, now there's already a step up. That's the it's like.
Except, no, she was not given a. She was given. With right there, she was hired. The budget was done before she was hired as a team. Okay. All right, so that's the change in the town administrator line. The reserve fund is going to be is the final figure. That's the final piece of the puzzle, because we have to make it zero. We want a zero bottom line, because we only have so much that we have for the budget total. Then I can breeze quickly through assessors, treasurer, collector, town clerk, both levels, land use. Those are all results of the changing of the moving down one step on the grid. Grade shift down. But that's the
difference in the raises.
savings, and they've not been cut. They've just not raised as much as had been originally calculated. So they are still receiving raises, but not as much as had been directed when we had the HR director doing the calculations. Land use, I think it was decided the elected and appointed salaries are coming out, that they will be, as with other boards, zero. Police and fire, there were a tiny bit, 703 and 150. I think those were just, as Jennifer and I were going through the recalculations, there were some mistakes in there. And so we we adjusted for those. Someone had been it just hadn't been done right at the time. So those are pretty minimal. The snow and ice, as we've talked about a couple of times, we have 3 of the past 5 years, we've had close to 100,000. I thought it was just 2, so I saw your populations apparently happened one other time that we ran over by quite a bit. This is one of the directives, the aim to not use free cash for the budget. We're not going to put in the full 100 or 120, but I think it's time to at least be setting some more of that free cash aside within the budget, so we have less of a surprise at the end of the year. This is what's, this is your call, all. The next one, highway, and again, that's 1,970. That's just, again, the support, the personnel in there, the wage recalculations, as is Board of Health and Council on Aging, Library, and Park and Rec. So that means just we did one minor switch in building maintenance. There was very strong feeling among the Finance Committee. As you all know, I didn't agree, but this was for you, that we took the $52,000 out of contracted services for repairs, and you felt very strongly that there'd be a hired person to be in charge of it. And that's it. So Paul, it's a lot of numbers, but as you see, like about a dozen of them are simply those $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 adjustments because they were on the grid. It would be a lot cleaner if and nobody wishes it was cleaner, no more than I do. I really don't like all those fixie-upsies, but this is the way it has to be. So when we get to the bottom line, and we still had 20,883
the winner is the reserve fund, which brings you from 20 to now you're just over $40,000 in reserve fund. We all agree that we'd like it to be higher, but it's over double that what had been originally budgeted. I want to remind in all cases here, and as we have every year, we get a second swing at the special town meeting to fix things that are just plain wrong. So when these estimates become real numbers and they're too high or they're too low, some adjustments can be made at special town meeting on the 27 budget, so that can happen in October. We're also at that time hoping we'll re-examine the revenues and see if we get any benefits there. We'll also certainly know, as we're planning for special town meeting, we'll absolutely know whether the override passed or not, and whether we made the correct estimates in the final columns. As you see, Peter, yeah, it's an estimate, $140,000 for 2 firefighters. We don't know that exact number. They have to be estimates. We did that, and the select board and the finance committee both agreed to that. And then for the second override, another firefighter was put in there at another 70,000. In each case, we added in for their supplies and gear. Every officer needs to be outfitted and all that, and it also impacted the culture. Anyways, I just jumped across. So that takes care of the select board. Now the next line is the finance committee, which is what we talking about that yesterday. So it's exactly computer that you have the returns on those. So I hope that helps. And another thing I did also to help the focus is I put the areas that were significant, not just changing it by a few $1,000 because of the wage adjustments, highlighted them so that they can be posed. We do try to make it easier to present.
Well, I have a question. How it works with the snow and ice, because we've got allocated $182,250. Once we raise that, we can't take that away. It stays in there.
Correct.
So if there's a way of leaving it at the 182,250, and because of circumstances, we can, because of it's unpredictable what snow and ice is going to happen. We have no idea. I'm sure prior to 3 years ago, we didn't spend a fraction of that because our snow and ice and our weather's been so mild. So would we want to look at an additional $25,000 where if it happens again, okay, you can still take that out of free cash or whatever to where it would come from. For another $25,000, and we can't take it back, we're not losing $25,000 or what could be going to somebody else.
I can argue, but I will explain.
Okay.
Number one is we all said we weren't going to spend free cash on the budget. So it just kind of feels like back our way of spending free cash on the budget.
Other towns have done that before. It's for that. I know this. I know you're listening to sort of we'll say, okay, no free cash, don't be using our funds, but this is one of the things that can be driven out of free cash is the security of the snow and ice.
That's up for you all to discuss and decide.
Yeah.
That's part one. The other thing I want to say, I'm sorry, the other thing I want to say about that is the cost is not stationary from year to year. Don't say, oh, we didn't, I was a less snow this winter, so we spent less. Not necessarily because the cost of the salt and the road treatments is going up. Okay, so the costs are also increasing. So I thought 25,000 was sort of, we're not banking on, if it was this year, since we're over by 120, we would still be over by 95,000, right? So it was just sort of a token way of going, we recognize this is always going up and we're allowing snow and ice to be first in line for that free cash every year. And maybe we should be doing things a little bit differently. As I say, I'm a bit of a conservative budgeter, as maybe you come to realize, but I think that is conservative. I also like to be able to tell others we're recognizing that, we're recognizing interest in cost increases.
So
You do what you need to do.
with the snow and ice, it was several months ago, Linda and I had looked at the historical snow and ice budgets, and we've been on average over just about every year. There was a couple of years that we dipped below, but even years that we don't get any snow, we tend to go through it with ice storms and little nuisance storms and all this other stuff. So at the time, I looked at it and said, we need to be putting another 100,000 in here in order to be where we need to be. But, 20,000 better than nothing, but we tend to go over quite a bit historically. So.
Okay, so we have Amy printed this. In 2021, we were at 822, we were at 176, 23, we were at 217, 24, we were down. This year was 286, and this year, well, we're at 2 because we don't have the numbers. So, and
120 over now already.
so we're at 2, whatever that comes to.
200.
Yeah, so I mean, we got 76 5-6 years ago. So, yeah.
I'm saying the rolling average for the last 10 years, we tend to go way over what we have.
Yeah, we've got 6 years here, 2 are under. The rest are over right there.
Yeah, and I think, key point that David made is the inflationary costs. Originally, I would agree with Peter, I was left at 0. Talking to Linda and thinking through the ramifications of inflation, at $25,000, I can absolutely get my head wrapped around as being prudent. And again, in the spirit of not setting ourselves up for a situation where we absolutely have to tap into free cash next year by under budgeting snow and ice when it's very likely to be higher. So 25,000 seems like a good amount.
I wish that might be here. We're taking $15,000 when it comes to the proposal of the finance committee from the 850. So our police chief has made the request of $50,000 taken out of the schools. Now, is that supposed to be filling a position that's not filled right now?
Right.
Yeah.
And to filling that position, so that $50,000 is gonna pay for another officer.
And
Which I know he says that he has no money to have money to pay for bullets. So that $15,000 gonna pay for that salary and for the bullets. I mean, I'm trying to figure out what's going on because everybody else. Now, are we filling that position so we're keeping his overtime levels down low? So when it comes to that, everybody else is either, overtime on the DPW and the water and the sewer, and I know that their enterprise is fund where their money comes from, but I'm seeing now we're sacrificing the schools. Can we wait on that $50,000 to see what happens during the fall time? Because, Randy, you were saying about fair, everybody needs to get a piece of something, but it seems like, and nothing against the police department, but other than the dispatch.
this,
And then I'm not, I'm sorry. So I'm just trying to see, but making things that just be getting really hit really hard. So another $50,000, you know what happened with all the fires and everything that's happened, and just with public going on with the fire, that there definitely was a need.
Yes, I'll say, I'm gonna cut you off, Peter, and then let that be your practice round. Because I want to get through the first budget before we start on the override, okay? So let's get that done, and then we'll move on to that.
Practice.
All right, so can we come to an agreement? This balanced budget. Somebody made a motion?
I mean, the changes are all relatively minor, and I understand it looks like a page of changes, but they're salary recalculations, most of them. The rest are very small changes. So, I got them last minute today as well, just like you did, but it's not that, it's not a bunch of complex changes that have been made, so I don't have any problem with those changes.
Those changes being which ones?
Select board on this budget.
Okay.
All right, so I will make a motion that we approve the adjusted select board omnibus budget as represented in, I call this exhibit A. As represented in the handout this evening with the adjustments that Linda articulated for the public.
Okay, Molly made a motion. Jane seconded it. Any further discussion?
And this will be put on board docs or whatever tomorrow, or
Yeah.
just in case somebody wants to take a look.
And pretty much ready, whatever, we're making whatever adjustments happen tonight with the usual format that we vote on at town meetings. So what you vote on in column 1 is going to change, it will change. And so I'm almost ready to go. That should be ready tomorrow.
Can I put it up for tomorrow night? Is that okay?
Yeah, just in case somebody has changes.
Okay, so we have a motion and second.
You're not even working with us.
All in favor? Aye. Amy, did you say anything? Okay, so now finance committee, I don't know, I would love it if you would. It's like you were voted, but you guys do what you need to do.
I'd like to make a motion that the finance committee approve the FY 27 budget adjustments as recommended by the finance committee.
Second that. In favor?
Aye.
So you're voting on y'all's recommendation, some board voted on their recommendation.
So we're presenting two budgets, the county, I mean, anymore.
That's completely gonna be there only.
Is that right? That's the intent?
And is y'all's intent?
So it doesn't look like there's that many, there's really only what's highlighted. There are really very many changes. There's 3 items. It looks like. This point,
There's 3 changes. And that's all we had.
And
So circumstances, and the 3 items that we disagree on. Can we discuss them and see if we can come to a consensus? Start with what I'll call the easy one, snow and ice. Are you that dead set against that it can't happen?
I would like someone to talk about the recap sheet and how that works and how exactly that works. Paul, if you were talking about the recap sheet, or maybe even how exactly the snow and ice and how we can go over. That is the one thing we can go over. So I feel that the finance reserve is more important because we can go over if there's an emergency, that we have the money in the finance reserve to appropriate for any emergencies. So we are looking for that 25,000 to come out of the snow and ice, because we like she said, after fall town meeting, after everything has been free cash has been certified, after the recap sheet has been taken care of, we can deal with that. And very well, we might not spend the finance reserve if it's not needed, but it's there for an emergency and it's not put in, it's available. And I think with this kind of a tight budget, I think you need things available for emergencies. And I think by cutting it down, that would bring the finance reserve pretty close to back to its original 70.
I have no problem. If you want to take the 25, I'm great with that. it goes against everything that when I was on finance that we talked about of our goal of not using free cash and not relying on free cash. We know that we go up on snow and ice. So we've made the effort to reduce reliance on free cash, and now we're going back on that to go in a different direction. So I'm kind of irritated by this, but it's $25,000. That is the deal breaker here. Let's pull it out of there and we'll go back to free cash. But I just feel like we're going the wrong direction with this stuff that we've been fighting for when I was on finance and select board before. It's going backwards, in my opinion. But
Verbatim what David says, if that was the only difference, then I'm not gonna fall on the sword to move the 25,000 up to the reserve fund.
Yeah.
But I also, as a former finance committee member, agree with David's statement that we're taking a step backwards. I don't think it's prudent, but
yeah, I'm fine
Okay.
with it.
And can that $25,000 be used? Can the finance committee fund pay for snow and ice?
yes.
So if that's the case, and we can move it to their fund, and if they haven't used it and it can be put back towards snow and ice, with the understanding that it will be put back towards snow and ice, are you guys okay with that? If you haven't spent it?
Sure, it goes back to free cash. It's fine. It goes back to free cash. What happens is that fund, usually emergencies happen. Something happens, the select board pretty much knows about it. People have come to us, asked for an emergency. There's not one time, not once, that the finance ever has said no. It just sits there. It has to go through, it goes through the finance reserve. But the other thing is, at the end of the year, we do the transfers. So it is there just for emergencies for all departments.
Yeah, I think the idea is finance reserve is always, theoretically it's for unforeseen, right? So I think our point is we foresee this, we would rather budget for it. And I agree with you, Amy. I'm worried about, given the magnitude of the cuts that if the overrides fail are going to be as represented in this budget, the opportunity for unforeseen ramifications to come up is pretty significant. But again, I'm fine moving it.
Okay,
So if I could, I'll make a motion that we adopt the finance committee recommendation for snow and ice to the select board budget. So we'll move that 25,000 from snow and ice to the finance reserve fund. That'll check one box off the list here. Okay, get closer.
Actually, yes, that's that. Yeah.
So that's okay. All right.
okay. Full motion,
Yep.
right,
So sorry, you guys gotta vote.
let's just,
So I have a question for Linda. So my understanding is that I have a position for the assistant treasurer and I have a position for the assistant collector. What if you take the $30,000 that we're getting from the salaries and make a 3/4 treasurer and 3/4 assistant collector, and then both of them have 10 hours elsewhere, wherever it's chosen? That way we both get back and forth with the person.
That's I think that's where it's select board at this point, but,
Well, that would solve your problem. That would better solve the problem.
Suggestion sort of tacking on you, even in the town administrator's budget. And instead of pulling it from the town administrator's budget, it stays there. And then the new town administrator can move it around to either the collector or the treasurer or the clerk or the assessor assistants and move it around that way. Because it's not just those two, so that might be a possibility. And that way, the money's already there, it doesn't have to be moved, but it would be there and it would be just sort of tacking onto what you're saying. And it could just stay there and not have to go in. Because the 3/4 budget is great, but again, I'm looking for 100% on the other end. So perhaps that might be a solution, Pam, a compromise.
It could be a compromise, obviously, anything I can get tonight is.
I'm just trying to, everybody else is working, is still at their 40 hours or whatever hours they're working right now. That's where everybody else is. And that was, and I hear your point about not cutting jobs or cutting whatever, but I'm just trying to put everybody back. I really should put everybody else back to where they are right now, except for this one position. And I just feel like it's being, again, being selective on the other side, that this is the only position that's getting cut. Everybody else has keeping the same hours, maybe not necessarily the same jobs.
Again, remember we said that's not actually how it is. It's the commission, not the people. They're not putting anybody in there. And it's not, it's the clerk, it's the assessor, it's the treasurer, and it's the collector. It's 4 people in town hall. So if it's in the town administrator's budget, then the town administrator who's still coming is going to be able to adjust that, and we can adjust it at the fall town meeting, but the funds are there. And I think that would get where we want to go.
I think so.
I think it's just right there from the administrator's budget. If it comes this thing.
I don't think there's much we can do about it.
I think the thinking amongst some of the townspeople is they see, well, why is the town administrator's budget have this extra 30 grand in it? Like we're throwing parties and going out to dinner or something like that. But I just want to make it clear to people that are watching, the town administrator's budget is more of a catch-all for things in town hall.
It's in the drawer right now.
Right, and so it gives us a little bit of flexibility. It's not $30,000 going into Jennifer's pocket or to Nate's pocket or anybody. It's in it. Right.
Yeah.
Define it.
Right.
No, I think also that it needs to have a little bit of faith and trust in what's being said here. It's in public, being recorded. It's not like telling you that this is going to happen and then it's not. Again, I think town hall understands best where this money needs to go. And if we put it in a place where the town administrator can say, we need help in that office this week or whatever, or this month, et cetera, that makes more sense to me from telling somebody, well, you're going to have your hours, you're going to be 20 hours in X office, and then the rest of your time, we're going to be sitting at Parkin. I mean, that's extreme. I understand that, but I just think it makes more sense to have this money doled out, if you will, in places that it's really necessary.
If I understand you correctly, it sounds like this would be a float position.
Well, I don't think it's a position.
Hours.
Hours.
Honestly, it could be that once we get through, if the override pass, then we can come to the fall town meeting and say, we can put this in the additional finance reserve, or we could put it towards capital, or our new fire chief wants more money, and I don't mean to pick on a position, but and so retired and their replacement needs more money. That's what that was supposed to be. So that would be used for that. But if the override fails, then that could be there, as Pam was saying, to do it this way and this way, and get people the additional hours. It opens up the opportunity without putting it specifically within a place and moving it, and then we don't have to make a change. But I think if the select board could agree to that right now, that if the override failed, then Pam, they would take your idea and run with that. I think that would be a good compromise. In my suggestion.
So the money would also help in this, it's been represented like everybody's getting their jobs back, and I just want to point out that it's not true. We have a lot of smaller, like 5-10 hour positions that aren't being funded. And these people would be able to have some more hours to their. And we have not reinstated the hours for assessor, for town clerk, for, in board of health and land use. So there's a lot of town hall departments that utilize, we have a floating person who does, I mean, when we're ready to send out the bills, a whole staff of them goes into the next room and there's a person who is all set to seal the fold seal and put the postage on. So floating people, and those hours have been cut honestly without recognition. So I just want to put a word in for them because they are some of our favorite people in town hall.
But the other thing that we're trying to plan ahead on is, and we've already got a head start on this again, because as David said, you know, with the silver lining of a failed override from last fall, has forced us to take a look at, you know, technology and things like that obviously haven't been implemented, but like we're at least aware of some of these things. And having it in that administrative line item, again, gives more flexibility in terms of if we find or looking at more efficient ways through the use of technology to do things that, again, resource management. So if we're able to automate or you know, use a software package, whatever, to do some functions that maybe a person is doing now, having those dollars deployable across multiple departments makes a lot more sense. If you put the dollars in a specific department and you achieve the technologies within that department, it's a lot harder to get that money out now and use it anywhere else. So again, this is about preservation of management, flexibility.
It's something I think we all need to remember here, but out in the audience, that this balanced budget is $1.5 million less than last year's budget. So we have to be careful when we say that everybody's going to keep their job, because that's not the case. So again, just be careful what we say, because it can be misconceived as to, oh, everything's coming back and we're not $1.5 million short. So anyhow, what do you guys think about this idea for the collector's line?
So it's, you're saying it's going to be in the town administrator's bucket, but we were told that they can't share those hours with any other, right? You can't, if it's hours that you're talking about or jobs or something, like if a different department, say building needs hours, you can't fund it from there, right? Because if it's in the town administrator, because then it's a union versus non-union, and you can't be in the town administrator's bucket.
Right, because the town administrator's position will not, you are correct, and won't be in the union. Because it can't be, but we're not talking necessarily about the admin person, or maybe, like, we don't have that yet. Especially if that person's half-time, they are not going to be the ones going here and there and here and there. But that person would not be in a union. But if we're putting the hours to other places, it would be union. And the town administrator's budget has paid the selector, it has paid the treasurer, it has paid other departments out of those lines. We pay the Board of Health admin, we pay the floater out of that, we pay other people and other places out of the town administrator budget.
And it's all.
Yeah, it's a town administrator budget. Yes, it's my salary. Yes, it's Mike's salary. It's also everything else. It's yeah, well, but it's everything else. And yes, it is each y'all's minutes too. Y'all don't have a minute line for that. I pay for that out of that line. And when I say I pay for it, I mean I sign. So I mean, but no, that's what it is. The town administrator, select board lines, sort of the overarching cover, or town hall, and in some cases other departments too, as need be. Not just the departments within town hall, but I mean.
So is that also things like the printers?
So we have,
That's from the 190s, but I have a copy paper for the town hall departments, mostly out of y'all's office supply line.
Yeah.
I try to,
Town hall.
I have a town hall
I'm not saying you
supply
can
line,
explain when we should-
computers, and other big purchases that I buy, paper out of that for everybody.
Yeah.
You could.
do you want to say that out loud, though, but so she can explain it a little better?
I was just asking her whether or not, well. So I understand with that, the town administrator, so whether it's union or non-union salaries, if that money can still be distributed at the discretion of the town administrator.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure of that it wasn't just as those that are higher up, that they're non-union, so that money has to be allocated for only non-union employees. Wasn't too sure how that actually works, so it's.
And keep in mind that this is, the money is not going to be allocated to a person, it's going to be allocated to a position that needs some attention for a given amount of time.
Like making sure that it's a non-union position, they have control or power to distribute that.
Right, so don't think about union, non-union for salaries at all, that has, it's salary is a salary, it doesn't matter if you're union or not. The only reason I was referring to when I said that the admin in the select board office will not be in the union is because it's a confidential employee and they can't be in a union. So having them do the union work is gonna be tricky, and we're gonna have to figure out and work on that and maybe have an MOA or something with the union, but this is way down the road. We haven't hired a person, we haven't done any of that yet, you don't know exactly what it's gonna look like. And obviously, I'm not asking to hire somebody, Nate will be here in 2 weeks. And I feel he's gonna want some time to get settled and, you know.
So I'm okay with that distribution.
So when you look at the dollar amounts, are you talking about in other salaries, putting it in other salaries? I'm just asking, so when we see the book, what we understand with where you're putting it.
First, so my recommendation is to sort of tap on the Pam's thing and put it in this one line up here in the TA budget line, and then in the course of what happens next, the select board and FinCom can have a conversation and the select board can make a decision about what that looks like. But I think that the select board could have an agreement now that money would be used to help with the other departments as needed. Is that fair? I don't want to put words in the select board's mouth, but I'm just saying, I think that might be something y'all would be willing to consider.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, that's right.
That's something.
Mine as well.
But I just,
We always have, as far as when other departments needed extra, so.
Right.
Guys, good with that?
So I just want to make sure I
It's moving this 30,000 up.
so it would be
Or they're
before.
no, they're moving this 30,000 to the T.
25.
Well, it's 30, the 20 by 76, the one that we have for the collective, they're moving it up into the TA. Not to the assistant TA.
TA's admin there to be a position.
Just.
And Nate and I will,
I see what you're saying.
I'm sorry, what I was saying was that would make the TA position an admin, the TA admin position a half-time position. That would be like 30,000, and they come and petition y'all furiously next year to have meetings time.
So this number stays as is.
The number would stay as is, not another day because the 30 is already out.
Which I think it out, we balance with that.
And that way,
So
that would be just snow and ice. The rest would stay the same, it's like select board insurance, system, finance committee. And then y'all could be in agreement right now,
So now
the Article 7 at 7:30. And it would be a really great way, and then we can keep moving and moving.
Nobody's listening to you.
Those who respond, maybe they are, very engaged on that part.
We gotta get through this line item first.
That's not what this meeting is for. It's gonna be for other stuff. So I'm okay with that.
Okay,
All right, so I guess I'm doing this right. I'll make a motion that the remain, are we talking about the 30,000? Is that what it is?
Right, but we still have one more to discuss, right?
yeah,
The top one,
yeah.
part-time.
No, Jennifer just mentioned that.
Oh, sorry, I was talking, sorry.
Say, to Paul
Yeah.
and Pam, that, I'm gonna say that I would stop protesting. The TA admin position will be a part-time position the upcoming fiscal year. And then Nate and I'll come back and petition for it to be a full-time position in the next fiscal year or the fall if everything looks really good.
So the budget stays exactly as is,
Stay
with
exactly
the exception of the snow and ice moving up to the Finance Committee Reserve Fund.
Right,
So we're saying on the select board side.
Yeah.
Column.
so
Except.
we're supposed to get the finance,
Into finance, reserve fund.
right, so you're basically looking at the finance committee's line. Right?
No, we're looking at the select board budget. And that would remain as is, with the exception that the snow and ice will get zeroed out.
Right, so that's what's on our line.
And then the 25,000 will be added to the 20,883. Right, the finance committee, a total of 45,883.
And 2576 is gonna be up to TA.
No, the TA money is already.
The money,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sorry. Pam,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, okay.
So this is going.
I was like so confused.
No, we got it. So.
I think we're good with that. I'm good with that anyways.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She's gonna stick, this is. She's taking.
the 786 reduction stays and
This is
collective money list, because that was the allocation on the,
yeah, part-time for assistant part-time. That's what that means looks like now.
okay.
And then this money up into a separate one. But
So.
Okay, all right, all right, now we're all on the same page. Yes, separate line. Okay.
So anybody like to make motions for Article 7?
Do we want to try again?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm making a motion that we accept the FY 27 omnibus budget. The finance committee one technically. No, we're doing ours, okay. No, I do have it, but I mean, it's just, it's a little more talking to you. So, make a motion that we accept the FY 27 omnibus budget, for the select board. We are going to, for the town administrator line, no, leave it alone. We're gonna leave it alone.
Snow and ice.
Snow and ice is the only thing that changes.
Snow and ice, up into the finance committee reserve fund.
Second.
The 30,000 for team as well.
Not in our budget, because that's already where you took it from.
It's there, Pam. It's 30,000, it's 30,000.
Right.
Okay, so now you lost me.
So you see how y'all had 54,000 out of our budget, out of the big budget? The select board would only have 21,000 out of it. So that 30,000 is.
All right,
So it's just the one change, making the motion to move the $25,000 from snow and ice up to the FinCom reserve fund. And then accepting everything else with the select board's assurances that they have given.
That's the last budget.
And it's not more budget.
Motion, we seconded it. Okay, all those in favor on the select board side? Aye.
So can I just say, I make a motion, you said?
That works.
Okay, all right, so a motion by Pam and a second by Harry. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, moving right along.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah, I think Linda.
We're actually starting, I'm just repeating it back so that I'm just because I'm also on the first starting point then is the select board time. And we moved 25 from snow and ice up into the reserve, making that 45,883. And
Everything else stays the same.
stayed the same.
Yes, ma'am.
That was an easier way to do it.
Yes.
I was.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. You have to deal with the bucket part of it. They're.
Moving right along. $850,000 override.
So I just have a quick question on this one. I know select board meeting, you guys changed our numbers a little bit. I'm understanding why you put $50,000 for the police because Mike was very clear that he wanted 20,000 to keep the admin's job. That he said he could put the other 30,000 into 1.5 side. So you guys still put 50,000.
That's to reduce his overtime expense. He said it would be well worth it, and he did ask Dr. McKenzie if that $50,000 change would be acceptable to her. She said yes. And it's in there because it falls under the schools and public safety, I guess you could say, with the fire department at the same time as the police and then the schools. So
That position was cut in the original.
Well, Mr. Mason, he will fight as the town administrator. He feels that if it's appropriate at the expense of his department. And so discussed it with him, and as David said, that it makes sense to give him to give the police department 50,000, especially if the school department is good with that.
Yeah, Dr. McKenzie was clear too about, the import of the resource officer, the relationship with the police department and fire, and that she wanted to make sure that everybody.
I was just asked, I heard him clearly say here it's 20, so thank you for the explanation.
Certainly.
Really find me keeping assistance.
So I would like, I don't know if y'all like to have additional discussion, but I do want to be mindful of the time. And note that we have 22 more articles that I need you to move through.
Yeah, that'll be easy. Yeah. Get through this. Yeah, okay. So. Does the finance committee think that what we've just explained makes sense and that you can agree with that?
I don't like that you took the money away from the school, but if Amy says she can live with it, I guess I'm okay with it. That was my thinking.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I don't think we need a vote. That'll just come up when we go through the articles, right? So it'll be the same as what's in here.
Anybody else?
Well, I think it would make sense to vote that they're within the select board side. I just think that it's imperative that we're all together. This when it comes to town meeting.
Well, and we're gonna, but this is an article itself, is it gonna?
But if you want a separate vote, I'll make a motion that we use the select board breakout for the $850,000 first override.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by David. All those in favor? Aye.
What's our motion?
I make a motion to accept the $850 as voted on by the select board.
Second.
Great, motion by Pam, second by Peter, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done, everybody. I appreciate it. Now we gotta go through all the articles and vote on them. And then we have to do division of motions. Okay. Article 1, annual town election, we don't need to do anything on that. Article 2 is on the consent agenda, grants. So that happens every year.
Consent agenda together.
I need you to vote on them separately because if somebody breaks up the consent agenda, I need to have recommendations for each individual motion. We're in our focus.
Okay, so Article 2, this is really housekeeping, right, for the American Massachusetts Small Cities Program, grants of monies. So I make a motion that we recommend Article 2.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by David. All those in favor? Aye. Do you need
Yes, please.
We're missing one. Oh. So confusing. I know we did, yeah, we did all of these and we're all 5-0. It's across the board.
The only thing is sort the budget. Do that for the 2 through 5 and 6, but after that, I'm gonna ask you to change the levy grant. So if you want to do that for the first 2 through 6, I'm good.
Okay. That'll save us a little bit of time.
0 for 5 minutes. Thank you. Article 4.
Article 3, chapter 90?
Motion for them.
Second. Motion by Molly, second by David. All those in favor? Aye. Article 4, short-term borrowing, consent agenda again.
Motion. Aye. Second.
Motion by Jane, second by Amy. All those in favor? Aye. Article 5, consent agenda, contracts in excess of 3 years.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Amy. All those in favor? Aye. Article 6, not consent agenda, water treatment plant filtration memorandum reserve.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion by Jane, second by Amy. All those in favor? Aye. FinCom,
They're still good.
they're still good?
Yep.
Okay. Article 7, omnibus budget, as we've already voted, yeah, sure. Voted to approve on both sides, with the changes.
Second.
Motion
by Amy, second by Molly. All those in favor? Aye.
I'll step back in.
We're missing another one.
Why don't we take 5 minutes and everybody can take care of business? How's that? Then we won't have to keep starting.
Sounds like a plan.
Finance committee needs to vote on the omnibus budget. Article 7.
I make a motion that we accept Article 7 as voted on earlier.
Second.
Okay, motion by Pam, second by Paul, all in favor? Aye.
Okay. Article 8, supplemental budget 1, $850,000.
Motion to. Thank you. Sorry about the mess.
Motion by Amy, second by Molly, all those in favor?
I'm still listening to health insurance with you.
FinCom.
Yes.
Yeah. I make a motion to accept Article 8, the supplemental 850,000 override.
Second.
Motion by Pam and a second by Peter, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, Article 9, supplemental budget 2, $650,000.
Motion to accept.
Second?
Motion by Jamie, second by Molly, all those in favor? Aye.
Make the motion to accept Article 9, the supplemental budget for 650.
Second. Motion by Pam, second by Harry, all in favor? Opposed?
You said aye?
Okay, and opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
I know.
What'd you say, Harry?
Aye.
You said yes. You said yes?
Yes, for opposed.
Okay.
Okay,
So, I'm sorry, so it was 1-4?
yes.
1-4.
Yeah, 1-4. Article 10, enterprise fund budget, sewer, water, and adult media.
Can I recommend?
Second.
Motion by David, second by Amy, all those in favor? Aye.
Make a motion to accept Article 10 for finance.
Second.
Okay, motion by Pam and a second by Paul, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, Article 11, clean up prior capital balances.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Amy, all those in favor? Aye.
And with the motion to accept Article 11.
Second.
Motion by Pam and a second by Peter, all in favor? Aye.
Article 12, capital articles.
Need three separate votes on this? Yes. Yes. Yep. Okay, motion to approve the articles related to sewer asset management, totaling $70,952.
That's 300,000.
No. Right, that's the onside, not the solo. That's 100,000. Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Jane, all those in favor? Aye.
Make the motion Article 12 for the sewer asset management for $300,000.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter, all in favor? Aye.
Motion to recommend the water asset management ask of $300,000. Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Amy, all those in favor?
Make a motion to accept the water asset management for $300,000.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Paul, all in favor? Aye.
Motion to approve the highway chapter 90 supplemental funds in the amount of $100,000. Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Amy, all those in favor? Aye.
Motion to accept the highway chapter 90 supplement fund for $100,000.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter, all in favor? Aye.
Motion to recommend the school security upgrades totaling $137,083.
Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Jane, all those in favor? Aye.
Motion to accept the school security upgrades for $137,083.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Paul, all in favor? Aye.
And one more time, right?
Yeah, aye to this.
And motion to is that right? Transfer from water reserves. Motion to transfer from water reserves to purchase the following capital items: the Water Management Act grant, SCADA system, and Callahan Well redevelopment. Second.
Motion by Molly, second by Amy, all those in favor? Aye.
Motion to transfer from water reserves to purchase the following capital items: Water Management Act grant, SCADA system, and Callahan Well redevelopment.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter. Favor? Aye.
Article 13, prior year invoices.
Motion to recommend.
Motion by Molly, second by Jane. All those in favor? Aye.
You can allocate that one to David though. Article 13, recommend to accept the prior year invoices.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter. All in favor? Aye.
Article 14, employee compensated time fund.
Second.
Motion by Jane, second by Molly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to accept Article 14 of the Employee Compensation Plan Fund.
Second.
Motion by Pam and second by Paul. All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Article 15, accept Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 71F revolving fund.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
By Molly, second by David. All those in favor? Aye.
Motion to accept Article 15.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter. All in favor? Aye.
Article 16, Community Preservation Act Committee.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by Jane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept Article number 16 for the Community Preservation Act Committee.
Motion by Peter and second by Harry. All in favor? Aye.
Article 17, Lake Warner Phosphorus Remediation Project, another CPA.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by Jane. All those in favor?
Thank you. Accept Article number 17 for the Lake Warner remediation project for CPA.
Second.
Motion by Peter, second by Pam. All in favor? Aye.
Article 18 is planning board. We don't need to be concerned with that, as well as Article 19 and Article 20. Whatever it is.
Wait, what's Article 19?
I'm sorry, I just saw that. It's Article 20 and that's also been in the draft.
There, Article 22, Fire Chief Authority, revocation of the Strong Chief Statute.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by James, second by Molly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Article 12.
It's not about monster, it's not about.
No, it wasn't, but I did, it was, I just want to mention something, okay? Because we started to talk about it. Gage is, well, we talked about a fire district before. And a couple of times we brought up the fact that we've mentioned it maybe to the select board in the past, we've mentioned it to the change of committee, the other committees, about, okay, is there a way that public safety, or is there a way that we can have a special district for commercial? Because they're the ones you about public safety. We've been doing some research on it. And at this point, so we are researching that, and it looks like we're only exploring it right now. But it does look like it is possible to do a fire district. It is possible to split the tax rate on the fire district. It is possible that doesn't fall under the 2.5%. So there is a lot of pluses in that. And it is something that we can look at. If we do this, it does hinder that. If we change it, because you do need to have in the fire district a strong chief. So I didn't realize that until I saw this, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's going to hurt. So we looked at it, and it does affect it. So we're putting this in because we do not know who the new fire chief is, and we do not want to give him whatever. Thank you. The responsibilities that go. When we're injured, just like we did with Mike, then we can reinstate. It's not, okay. It can come out and go back in.
Yeah, and Amy, I would argue too, the fact that because I've been looking at that across the state, the municipalities that have them. And that there
there's such a huge planning effort that has to go into it. It would be a multi-step process at town meeting anyway.
Yep.
So like Jane said, we could, we could reinstate the strong fire chief for the fire district if that was a direction we wanted to take. So it's not like, this is irrevocable.
Yeah, I think I just took it as like it just protects the town, like for now, until like our fire.
Do we know the new?
Yeah, then we can get.
Article 23, is that a planning board or as?
22, we submitted, right? Well, that's us.
Yeah.
Current.
Was that put forth by the planning board or is that a?
He is preferred by recommendation from town council, the police department put this forward.
All right, motion to accept, to approve.
Okay, motion by Jane on Article 23, second by Amy, and we have a prohibition of the automatic teller machine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi. It's not actually a finance, but I mean, it is a finance for the town, but it's not financial for the town. But we still need to vote.
Well, we voted on other things like that. I mean.
Say you don't. Go ahead. Motion made to accept Article 23, television, cryptocurrency, television.
Second.
Motion by Pam, second by Peter. All in favor? Aye.
This is a general bylaw, not a zoning bylaw. So that's why the planning board was concerned with it, and that was to be the laptop.
Now we just need to know who's speaking to what.
So
I did mine already.
guys are done, I think, but everything else going on. No, it's a bit.
We have to say who's going to speak before. Well, I'm waiting to see what you're gonna, if you're signing anything over there. As soon as I walk away, it's gonna be like, well, yeah.
Definitely easy.
You wanna get a good take notes? I wouldn't have a problem with putting that one that long.
I think actually it's not as relevant
Because I am so against that, I think that's.
Right, so
So the first ones are the consent agenda. Kirk usually works through those, but I assign those to Mike Basic because he's not here. But the town administrator typically does the consent agenda.
that was correct.
Okay. So that takes you to that one. This budget, which
Article 6.
That's something.
that's considered. So my notes not, I'm sorry. That is the water filtration membranes is not considered for the water reserves, so you can either do meetings on assignment or if somebody wants to speak up.
I'll tell you.
Thank you. Then Article 7 is the omnibus budget. Our finance director. Prop 2 all together.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Okay, so we'll cover that. Article 8, override 850. Everybody joins.
Who's jumping up and down about this one?
I think that should be some board that.
You want select board to do it?
Yes, I think so, because it's sort of. Don't you? Yeah, they're sort of advocating.
Or you want to do the 850?
Sure, I'll take that.
So I think, perfect. And then an article, which is the 650 override. I'll do it. That one's, gotta make sure Jay's covered. This is her last meeting.
She gets the rest of that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Article 10, enterprise budgets.
Backgrounds.
Yep, perfect. And then Senate town articles. Okay. That is persons. And then we have the chair of the capital committee here, so we'll just assign those to him. Right?
So the capital articles, Paul, I took a bunch of notes because Scott's not gonna be there, so the DPW stuff, I'll help you out if need be, all right?
I'll talk to them too, you know,
Okay.
conversation.
We can compare notes before this, make sure we got every other bases covered. How's that? All right, good.
I think they're all 2/3 votes since they are borrowing, just.
But the budget votes are 50 majority, correct?
That's the ball.
Yes, yes, we're on the capital. Yes, you're right, John.
I will have that up for y'all, yeah, in the future. But I don't know. I don't have to have it for, I guess I do, I'll get it.
So we can let people know it's done.
Broken out like 5
That's not,
articles within.
that's not money. I'm pretty sure a lot of reserves.
We'll get that, we'll take care of that, it'll be all nice and neat tomorrow. So the 13 is the.
Amy already called that.
Right, Article 14 is the employee compensated fund. You get it. Article 15 is for the schools revolving fund. I was happy to ask either Amy or to do that.
That makes sense.
CPA, Mary Thayer.
Last one was the,
You have the five, you know,
yeah.
Molly's gonna talk for that one.
yes, you can start on them. Cryptocurrency. Last one.
You said you wanted that one.
I don't know, I'm not sure. And you can jump in and assist. There's some other. We're gonna be some cards tomorrow night, correct? You can, or we can just do the slideshow and y'all can speak to it. I don't have talking points for you yet. Sir. It was at 7 tomorrow night. Solution on the town website and on the town Facebook page. There are sign-up links. A group of volunteers have come together to provide childcare. The school is allowing them to set up in a couple of different rooms at the school. It's a couple of different organizations. There's teachers, and they're all going to come together and out for a town meeting. Kirk Watley has agreed to provide a moderator for the room, so that the voters in that room can cast their ballots. And so I just want everybody to know the registration because they are asking for people to register their childcare just to make sure that they have people.
I've got a question when it comes to the voting. So the 850 and the 650, is it gonna be like last year, a silent ballot, whether if it's a red or a green tag, to one get to be?
Kirk Watley has decided that it will be a secret ballot and Jessica is preparing for that.
I don't know if maybe you watched the school, you did, the school committee meeting last night, they did a great analogy about cream cone. If you want both scoops, if you want both of them, you need 2 scoops.
I don't know and watch for 2 scoops.
It made sense. It was pretty cool.
Amy
explained it.
Amy can knock the presentation out.
It was really good. Like a lot of, like they had a lot of graphs and charts and it was very visual.
It's phenomenal. She and her team over there are stellar.
Okay, you done with us, Jennifer?
Just a reminder, tomorrow night, ATM Public Forum here at 7 p.m. It's also on Zoom. And then y'all have town meeting on the 7th at 7 p.m. in Hopkins Academy.
Second for discussion.
Motion by Jane, second by Lou. All those in favor?
I'm making a motion.
So. Thank you. Look back there a second, right? Peter.
Meeting. Thank you all. And thank everybody at the tables.